Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we'll be learning how to make this. If this is your first time of joining us, you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, you're welcome. If this is what you love to learn, please keep watching. Make sure to like our video, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so you get notified each time we upload new video. These are the fabric that I need for the project. The fabric I use is actually a very stretchy fabric, so that should be put into consideration. You can make drape cowl dress without a stretchy fabric though, but for this bag, because it's not having a zipper allowance, there's no zipper to it, so if stretchy fabric would do good for the project. Okay, so I'll set the fabric aside, then work on the pattern. We're starting from the back pattern, and this is what I need for the back pattern. My tools that I need for it, my pencil and my ruler, then the scissors, the tape rule that I need for it. This place, you can skip this place. I went ahead to I went down by 2 inch to start. What that 2 inch was indicating for was for my sewing allowance, but you could skip that. So from that 2 inch point, that's where my measurement started from. That's my chest line, then my waistline now. So my chest line is 8. You can see where that line is, the first line. Then my waistline for the back is 15.5. You already know. If you don't know how to take a basic body measurement, please, I'll link it in the description box. You go and check it out. Okay, 8.5, I'm sorry, 15.5. Then I connect across like so. So my waist to my hip line is, I did 8.5. Please, I always stress to use your measurement. Please, if you're a beginner and you've never done this before, please go learn how to take accurate measurements then before you start. Then my waist to my new line is 17. That is the standard, basically. 17, 18 is what's standard waist to new line. So I'll connect like so. So now I'm going to impute my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 7.5. Please make sure to use your measurement. I'll connect like so. Then I'll put my waist measurement. Because the fabric is stretchy, I minus 0.5 from all my measurements, because I'm working with a very, very stretchy fabric. Okay, then my hip measurement, I removed 0.5 from it. So I'm going to connect my waist to my hip. Then hip to, the same measurement for the hip is what I use for the knee line. Please, this I need to point out that it's a long dress, but because the paper, that's where the paper could get to. So when I'm done with the pattern, when I place in the fabric, I'm going to mark the remaining lengths to it. Please, let's keep that in mind. That is a very long dress. The length I needed for the length, my length is 62. So just have that in mind. So now I'm going to put my bust measurement. The same rules applied. I minus 0.5 from all my measurements. And I'll connect like so and blend off every sharp edge that I may have. That's my waist, my hip. Okay. So now I'm going to take my shoulder slope. And I'll connect like so. I'll mark my neck depth width like so. Then I'll divide my shoulder into two. And mark it. Then you determine how deep. You see the back of the dress. It's how deep you want it to be that will determine your neck depth. Here now, please take note. I did 8. I did 8 for my neck depth. Then you could see the result of the 8. You see how drapey and open it is. If you don't want it that open and drapey, you can come up a little. You can do 6, you can do 7. Okay, so I just want to point that out. Now I'm going to connect from that middle point. I divided my shoulder into 2 back to the 8 I went down by, like so, with a slant like so. Then we'll measure what we have from there to that point. Whatever we have, you write it down and take note of it, because that's the beauty of the dress. That's where it's going to come from. So what I had was 10. I think I had 10.5 or 10.7 or so. So I've written it down. Now I'm going to divide my shoulder length into 2 so I can do my shoulder contouring to help me eliminate any bulge around the armhole area. And use your curve ruler to connect. If you don't have, just eye gauge it, trace it out. You'll get it okay. You just mark a straight line from the top to the point you went in by. Then you curve out to meet your armhole measurement, your bust measurement, sorry. That's it. So now I want to add in my sewing allowance. If you're using a very stretchy fabric, you don't even need a sewing allowance. But just to be on the safe side, I added sewing allowance, which I later removed because the dress was so stretchy. Even the 0.5 I minused from the dress wasn't working. Okay, so but if your dress is not as stretchy as mine, and if you don't know how to place stretchy clothes yet, add allowance. It's better you have those allowance when you're done sewing it and you fit it and it's loose. You could shape it in more and lose it out, if that makes sense. Okay, so I've connected all my allowance and blend off the sharp edges like you see me do. So now I'm going to do my dart. I'm going to take my dart in. And also I want to point out that this particular point, you really do not need it as well. Okay, you could leave the dart like so, then minus it when you're cutting, if that makes sense. But for the purpose of the tutorial, I went down from my waist 7. I went up from my waist towards my chest line by 6. So if you check it, if you mark it like that and check, you will see that. That's why I always suggest you to measure. You see that what I did is like 6.5. Then if you check from the chest line to where I started from, you see that it's like I went down by 1 inch. Okay, I hope I'm not confusing you. So now I'm going to mark my measurement across. So the total of the line that I use from down 1 inch after my chest to where my to below my hip line, before my hip line, is 13. But you could do 12 from 1 inch from your chest line to before your hip. You do 12, you will have to be fine as well. Okay, so now I'm going to add 0.5, 0.5. And replace it. This back cowl dress was a bit tricky for me, so I will have to tell you the truth. Because I'm used to doing front cowl. I've never tried back cowl, so I decided to try it out. I love the outcome, which I would love to repeat again in other forms of dress, so now I'm going to replace the dart. Like I said, you might skip this place. You will leave your dart intact inside the fabric, inside the pattern. Don't mark out your dart or whatever. But when you're cutting, when we're about to cut, I'm going to explain that. Okay. Then you connect like so. If you're replacing, if you're using the method, just follow and connect like so. You see that what I removed actually is the dart that is inside. Okay, I will show you that by comparing the measurements. You see, so I did not take out more than I replaced. The way I connected it, a lot of persons might be confused, but that is it. So that is it for the back. We're going to set it aside. Cut out the set aside and start the front pattern. Sorry about that. I'm yawning. I'm running late on uploading my video because of projects that I have at hand, but it's okay. My YouTube family remains my YouTube family, so when we start something, we'll have to continue, right? So I am done. Please notch your middle point where your line started from. It's very important. We need it. So now for the front, I'm doing same thing I did. I took out my chest line, it's 8. And how to get your chest line is divide your bust measurement by 6, whatever you have, add 1.5 to it. It will give you your accurate chest line. That's your armhole line, chest. I hope it makes sense, please. And my waist, my bust, I imputed my bust, shoulder to bust measure, shoulder to nipple. Okay, shoulder to nipple point. Please, I said use your measurement. Okay, mine is 11.5. Then I imputed my waistline, which I just marked. Then from my waist to my hip line, I did for the back 8.5. That is what I'm repeating here as well. So the remaining is not up to 17, which is the nail measurement, but it doesn't really matter. From that point, it's all just a straight line down because the same measurement I used for the hip, so it's not a problem. It was not a problem for me. So now I'm marking out my chest line, CH, SMP. That's how I put shoulder to nipple point. That's how I put my most times, SMP. Then my waistline, WL, my hip line. I could do, sometimes I write HP, or I spell out the full hip line because the spelling is short. So that's my chest, my nipple pan, my waistline, and my hip line. Then the base, like the rest of it. So now that we're done with that, I am going to impute my neck shoulder measurement. 7.5 was what I used. Please make sure to use your measurements. 7.5, and I'll connect with a straight ruler. I'll impute my bust measurements. I'll repeat that measurement on my nipple pan, that's a shoulder to nipple point line, and I'll impute my waist measurement. Remember, I said I removed 0.5 from all my measurements, so I'm repeating same process here. The same applies to the front, okay? So connect all your measurements, all your point lines together. This is the waist to the hip. So blend off any, if there's any sharp edge you may have, you blend it off. I'll connect the hip to the end of the pattern paper, which is like my baseline. Remember, that's not the length. The length I'm working with is 62. But because the pattern paper is short and is a straight dress, I had no need to add extra paper just to save paper. So I'll blend off any sharp edges. So now let's work on impute my nipple pan. I'll point out I used a side dart for the front panel, but if you're working with a stretchy fabric, there is no need for it. Reason why most times I add side dart for my dress is because if you're making a basic straight dress when there is no dart, if you don't add side dart, most times you wear your dress, it compresses your chest, like, so that gives room for fitting, like give it ease. So that's why I am using a side dart. So I'm imputing the difference between my front measurement and my back on from my nipple point. That's my shoulder to my nipple point. I went down by 1.5 because that's the difference. The back panel I used 15 from my shoulder to my waistline, but for the front is 17. So if you minus 16 from 15.5 from 17, you have 1.5, right? So that is what I'm replacing, okay? But you can skip it. If you're using a stretchy fabric, you can skip this part. You must not necessarily use this part. But if you want to try it, then just follow what I'm doing. You replace the difference between that. Then if you're not doing this part as well, You don't have to do, you use equal measurement. That means whatever measurement you're using for the back is what you're using for the front, if that makes sense. Okay, so but if also you're not using, you can't, if and you stick, you've watched this part, you want to stick to this process, you close your side dart when cutting. That should be put into consideration, because if not, if you cut your fabric, they are not going to be, if you cut out your fabric with a different pattern, they are not going to be equal. Okay, so now I added my allowance 1 inch that I did before, the way I did to the front panel and back panel. I'm doing it now to the front panel. Please, if you are confused and you have any question, drop it on the comment section. I will explain to you as soon as possible, like ASAP. I will get back to you. Okay, yeah, make sure to like our channel, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell. And if our video is helpful to you, always share to your loved ones. Thank you. So now I'm taking my neck depth. How I will first do 3, okay, but I will divide my shoulder now into 2 like I did for the front, and I'm going to mark there. Remember that our back panel shoulder was divided into 2, so I am going to connect that. The depth I'm using is 2. Depth I'm using for the front panel is 2, while the width is 5, because if you calculate it, whatever you get after dividing your shoulder into 2, the center of that shoulder, you connect to the 2 you went down by. That's if you love the way the front depth is. If you don't, if you want it deeper, you do 3, 5 and connect. Okay, the thing about fashion is this: you can always tweak it, sorry, to fit your taste, even if they teach you a particular thing, you must not follow it religiously. Okay, so this is me doing my shoulder slope for the front. 1.5 is my shoulder slope for the front. And I'm going to do my contouring. I usually do 0.7, 0.5 for my contouring most times. For this case, I did 0.5, but later when I was sewing it, when I tried it on, I found out that it didn't, it was coming out too much, like, so I had to deepen it again. And so I have to tell you everything that I did, because I don't want you thinking that when I was sewing it, I didn't have any errors or it all came out so perfect. No, that's what fitting is for. You fit your dress. If there's an adjustment, you adjust. Most times you fit, there's no adjustment, it's good. Okay. Yeah, and if you're making for someone, it's always advisable you ask them to come for adjustments, to test, to fit their clothes, so that if there's issue, you could adjust it and give it back to them. So we are done. I'm indicating my bust point now. That's my side darts, my side bust darts. I'll cut off. So I added my shoulder allowance, okay, because I have room to do that. If you don't have room to add that space, you can skip it. When you're cutting, you add your allowance. Okay. So I added a little on the shoulder side just to sew. Just take your time, look at your pattern, cross-check your pattern before you cut. That's the beauty of making a pattern. If there's an adjustment, you could easily do that. before transferring it to a fabric. Like here that you're seeing, instead of my, I was contemplating if I should do three or so. So initially I did three. I connected to three instead of the 2.5 that I did. So I had to two, sorry, that I did. I had to connect it back. I cut onto, but I had to connect it back, and you see, that's the beauty of using a pattern. If it was already a fabric, that would have been a damaged. Okay, so now let's cut. I had to move my camera towards the side, place my pattern to the front. So now I'm cutting for the front. You see me notching my side notch like I did, like so. I'll notch the point where it started from and where it ended, so that when I want to sew it on the fabric, it will be easy for me to get. Okay, then this is me cutting out the front panel. The front panel is just straight. It's the back panel that the work is. So now to cut out the back, you have to take close notes. That's 10" for the front. For the back, when we did our shoulder to the depth of the neck that I did shoulder to the depth 8. Then I divided my shoulder into 2 and I connected, and I got 10 when I connected them. So I said put that in mind. So you're going to place your fabric. Before you place your pattern, you're going to mark out the 10". Like so. That's where this your shoulder, your pattern is going to start from. So now I'm marking my waistline like so. My waistline, I marked it towards the side and towards that side. And also I want to point out, if you don't want it to be this full, the back, you see the way my back was drapey and that full. Remember I said you don't need to add your you don't need to replace your dart, right? Your dart. You move out, you come out by 1". That means your pattern is going to be out on the waistline by 1". If that makes sense. Okay, then the shoulder line is going to start on the 10" space you put in. I hope it makes sense. So now I added 2" on top of it, which I'm cutting out. This 2" will serve as my facing for the dress. Okay, just take your time, it's not confusing at all. Okay, and I'm cutting. The more space you have, like this is, the fuller it gets. Okay, I hope it makes sense. So when we cut up to the waistline here, I'm going to move the pattern back. You adjust your pattern back. And cut straight. It's simple. Like now, I don't want to explain too much. So, but if you have question, you're confused about anything, please drop a comment, okay? Or use my handles to send me message, and I will respond to you. Okay? So now moving it back again, because there was a correction I want to make. So you're going to mark your middle, that's where your shoulder line started from. Okay, which I have done. I'll pin it together, then mark indicate the line. This is how it's supposed to be on the inside. Okay, then indicate the line, because that's where my shoulder line starts from. You're going to give it like a good curve. It's not going to be this straight. Or just indicate the line when you want to put in your shoulder. That line shows you where your shoulder starts from, like you see me do like this. So what I'm trying to say is, you make it straight instead of it being this bendy like this. Okay, you're supposed to slant it back to meet the normal way the shoulder is. Okay, So now I'm cutting out my facing for the front, please. So I'm going to sew my facing for the front. And from that point I marked, that's how I'm going to do my shoulder. But later on, I found out that because I didn't do that slanting that I told you, you cut it straight, it was giving me, it was draping to, like, my shoulder was saggy. So I have to lose it and correct it. But when we get there. So now I've got my facing, I've sewn it. I'm going to give it a good press for the front, please. That's the front facing. Then I'll add the back to it. You see that mark? That's what I'm saying. You're supposed to cut it straight, make it slant straight. Okay? But it's because it's becoming too pointy. It affected my dress, too. I adjust it later. I loosen and, I cut, but I didn't cut it the way I should because I was scared so that I don't spoil it. You see, I only did little, but I was supposed to do more than that. So, just to be on a safe side. And if you're also scared like me, it's fine. You can sew it. When you sew, after wearing for fitting, you pin out all the places for correction, okay? So I'm going to place like so. Remember, the facing is 2 inch, so you bring out your facing like that. It should be accurate with your front shoulder, okay? Then you sew out with your added allowance. So I'm done sewing it. This is what we have. That's the back facing and the front facing. This is what we have, okay? And when you're done, if you find out that your facing for the front is too long, you can always also adjust it. So initially I used bias to turn my, but later, like I said earlier when I was drafting the pattern, when I did fitting, I didn't like what I saw. I had to fold normally and cut out the bias. So the bias was a waste. So now you're going to turn with your bias and all that. Then, like I said, that 1 inch I was not supposed to replace it. I was supposed to leave it inside and minus it. That while I placed the pattern, I didn't minus it. Like I said, the more space you give is the fuller it gets at the back. You see, the back looks so full, and within that my waist region, it seems like it's so spacious. Like there's this fullness it has. Though I love it. Okay, I'm not saying I love it. Even after I adjusted it, I love it. That's because if I had moved the pattern away, 1 inch away, that's minus it will give it a grip, like, but it's still fine. So now I'm going to sew my bust that I imputed. So this is where I was doing it. Now I folded it together in the notched part. So I'm going to go in from the center front. I will do my bust pan, that's nipple to nipple, which is 4, and I'm going to come out again by 1. Okay, like so. Sorry, it wasn't showing that much. 1, and that 1 is where my that leg is going to stop. Okay, if you're sewing that directly on your fabric, it doesn't stop at the apex of your nipple point. No, it stops 1 inch before. That will give room. Okay, but like I said, this is a stretchy fabric. You don't need it for a stretchy fabric. So now I'm doing fitting, and I found out, you see what I was saying, So I had to, this is where I said I will sew on the marked line, that marked line that I didn't cut my slant for the back that deep to meet, because I didn't know what the outcome would be like. Then the front, you see the fabric, the allowance is much, so I'm going to also put my slit upward. Okay, yeah. Then this is what I'm saying, you see the fullness, this you see within my waistline. Anyways, from the first picture when you were watching this, you will know that it fits perfectly because I've done all the necessary adjustments. So now I've loosened it, and you see that's how I'm going to cut the shoulder for the back, not the front, please. It's just the back that I cut. I didn't touch the front because the front panel was perfect. So I'm going to push it upward, like more than 1 inch upward, to meet the one for the front. It will look funny when it looked funny when I did it, but it came out nice. So yeah, like our channel, subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you get notified each time this video is helpful to you. Please drop a comment. That's the best thing you could do for a content creator on YouTube. Like, always like when you watch their videos, it helps promote the video. So now I'm going to do a shaping, and that is it. It's not too much. And if you watched to this part, thank you for watching. Thank you for always coming back. Thank you for always watching. Yeah, see you in my next one. Bye.